Some of the most reliable motorcycles ever built rolled out of Japanese factories between 1981 and 1989. And 40 years later, they're still being ridden daily, not babied in garages, but actually commuted on, toured on, and beaten up. We're talking bikes that have crossed 200,000 miles on original engines, with nothing more than oil changes and valve checks. Most riders today chase the newest tech, but the truth is, the bikes built during Japan's golden engineering decade outlast almost everything made since. Here are the ones still refusing to die. The Honda CB series that refused to quit, the Honda CB750, Nighthawk, and the CB450 from this era are everywhere, if you know where to look. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, small-town garages, you'll find 1982 to 1988 CBs running with 80,000 to 150,000 miles on the clock and still pulling clean. The reason is the engine itself. Honda used a hydraulic valve adjuster system on the Nighthawk 750 starting in 1982, which means no shim and bucket valve adjustments every 8,000 miles like its competitors. Owners literally just changed the oil and rode. The DOHC inline 4 was overbuilt for the 75 horsepower it made, so internal stress was minimal. If you find a CB 750 Nighthawk between 1,982 and 1,983, or the second-gen 1991 to 2003 model that uses the same bones, you're looking at a bike that'll hit 100,000 miles with basic maintenance. Pay $2,500 to $4,000 for a clean one. That's a lifetime motorcycle for the price of a used scooter. The Yamaha that outlived its owners. Now here's one that quietly became legendary, the Yamaha XT600 and its street cousin, the SR500. Built from 1984 onwards, these single-cylinder thumpers were designed for African rally use and farm work in Australia. They had to survive abuse. The SR500 and later the SR400 sold until 2017 inches. Japan used an air-cooled single with such low internal stress that engines regularly hit 200,000 miles untouched. No water pump to fail, no radiator to leak. No timing belt, it's a chain. Carburetor instead of fuel injection means no fuel pump to die at 60,000 miles. If you can find a 1984 to 1987 SR500 in the US, and they exist, mostly imported, you're getting a bike with maybe 4 parts that can fail. Owners report routine 30,000-mile intervals between any major work. The trade-off is 27 horsepower, kickstart only on early models, and zero highway comfort above 65 miles per hour. But it'll outlive your car. The Suzuki everyone forgot about. And this next one is the bike that quietly costs less than its parts are worth. The Suzuki GS series, specifically the GS550, GS650, GS750, and GS1100 from 1980 to 1986, has a near mythical reputation among mechanics for being unkillable. The GS engines used roller bearings on the crankshaft instead of plain bearings, which is the same setup you'd find in a small aircraft engine. Translation, almost zero crank wear over decades. The cylinder heads are oversized for the displacement, so they run cool even in stop-and-go traffic. There's a reason drag racers in the ADS built their bikes around GS1100 engines and ran them at twice the factory horsepower without grenading. Real-world numbers, a clean 1,983 GS 750 sells for $1,800 to $3,000. Owners on the GS Resources Forum routinely report 120,000 to 180,000 miles. Replace the carb diaphragms every 30,000 miles, change fork oil yearly, and that's basically the maintenance list. If you want a bike that'll never strand you, this is it. The Kawasaki that embarrasses modern bikes. But here's where it gets interesting. The Kawasaki KZ1000, KZ1000, and the legendary GPZ900R Ninja from 1984 are still being ridden hard, and not just by collectors. Police departments in several countries use the KZ1000P from 1982 through 2005 as their primary patrol bike. 23 years of the same model on duty, racking up 150,000 plus patrol miles each. What made these engines unkillable was Kawasaki's obsession with overbuilt cam chain tensioners and a forged steel crankshaft when most competitors were using cast cranks. The GPZ900R, the original Ninja, ran 1.6 valve liquid cooling at a time when Honda was still using air-cooled twins on flagship bikes. That cooling efficiency means 40-year-old GPZs still hold compression like new. Find a 1984 to 1986 GPZ 900R for around $4,000 to $6,000, and you're getting Tom Cruise's Top Gun bike with engineering that puts most modern 600cc sport bikes to shame. In terms of long-term durability, just budget for fork seals and a battery. That's usually all that's wrong with them. The one everyone missed. Now forget everything I just said for a second, because the most reliable Japanese bike of the 80s is one that almost nobody talks about, the Honda CX500 and CX650, built from 1980 to 1986. This was Honda's transverse V-twin with shaft drive. No chain to lube, no chain to replace at 20,000 miles for $200. The shaft drive setup is rated for 250,000 miles of use without a rebuild. The engine itself is liquid-cooled, which was rare in 1980, meaning thermal stress that kills air-cooled engines after 80,000 miles simply doesn't happen here. Here's the kicker. Couriers in the UK during the 80s and 90s used the CX500 because it would do 250,000 miles of stop-and-go London traffic on one engine. Some are still couriering today. You can find one in the US for $1,500 to $2,800. The only weak spot is the stator, which fails around 60,000 miles and costs $200 to replace. Do that one job and the bike is essentially eternal. Why this generation won't be repeated? So why do these specific bikes from this specific decade keep running while bikes from 2010 are already dying? Two reasons most people miss. First, emissions regulations were loose in the 80s, so engineers could build engines with rich fuel mapping, oversized oil capacities, and zero emission control restrictions choking the airflow. Modern bikes run lean to pass EPA standards, which runs them hotter, which kills them faster. Second, electronics. An 80s Japanese bike has maybe 30 electrical components total. A 2024 motorcycle has over 200, including ride-by-wire, ABS modules, IMU sensors, traction control, and multiple ECUs. Every single one of those is a potential failure point in 15 years. The 80s bikes have a CDI box and a regulator rectifier, and that's basically it. Less to break means more to outlast. Remember that 200,000-mile claim from the start? That wasn't marketing. It's the documented reality of CX500s, SR500s, GS750s, and CB Nighthawks still on the road today. The golden decade of Japanese engineering, roughly 1981 to 1989, produced motorcycles that weren't built to a price point or a regulation. They were built to a standard. If you want a bike that'll outlive your next 3 cars, skip the showroom and find a clean 80s Japanese bike with service records. Spend $3,000 instead of $13,000 and ride a piece of engineering history that the industry simply doesn't make anymore.